I don't know why I do it twice, because it doesn't sound right.
Is that like an OCD thing?
I don't know. I find myself ending up doing it twice.
You looked a little puzzled even as you're doing it.
It didn't sound right, and but that's because I have headphones on, which that
sounds like OCD to me.
Not OCD, just ADHD. There's plenty of weird ADHD behaviors.
Different D.
Neurodiversity is fun.
Different D is what they called me in high school.
That's what I gotta check.
Hi, friends.
Hello, puppets.
Howdy, y'all.
And welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat, maker of the Costume Codex videos on YouTube.
I'm Jack Kramme, editor / right-hand man for Passion of the Nerd, editor for Chipperish Media, and co-host of podcast of the Nerds.
And I'm Josh Gosdin, and I'm going to try not to let this hat affect my natural Texas accent tonight.
We like your Texas accent, and it is definitely enough. And we're here today to talk about They've Got a Secret. This episode was written by Sally Dupuis, who we saw before writing for IET, and is a creative consultant on several first season episodes. It is directed by Ian Watson. This is his first episode as a director, but he will become one of Farscape's regulars and is really good at intimate character episodes. The crew are taking some time for maintenance on Moya, checking for leftover Peacekeeper technology. No one really likes this work, but Dargo particularly is in a bad mood. He gets careless and impatient with the wrong piece of tech and gets sucked into a tunnel, where he finds another piece of tech, a shield of some kind. He's really in a mood now, and he just whacks it, causing some kind of eruption of particles, and getting himself flushed into space. All is not lost, though, as apparently Luxons can survive brief exposures to space. But something is not right. He's confused and hallucinating. He mistakes Zahn for someone called... The others hope with a little rest he'll come back to himself. He also seems to be covered in some strange particles from whatever he set off in the tunnel. Dargo's not the only one who isn't quite himself. Pilot is sensing something is not right with Moya, but he doesn't know what, and the DRDs are acting weird. Zahn has been examining the strange particles. They seem to be biomechanoid, like Moya, and all uniform. John suggests it might be a virus of some kind. It looks like he might be right, as more things go wrong with Moya, and Pilot eventually passes out. Luckily, Aaron is capable of steadying the ship, for now. But seriously, what's up with Moya? Dargo is still in a world of his own and has now mistaken Rigel for someone named Jothi, for it seems his son. It looks like a happy hallucination, that is until Dargo runs into John. Things take a dark turn as he thinks John is someone called Macton. It seems this isn't just a hallucination, but a memory. Dargo is reliving his life before prison. Things are getting worse for Moya. There are malfunctions everywhere, and the DRDs are getting actively hostile.
Aaron, shut down the DRD.
And it now looks like Moya is deliberately starving Pilot and might be trying to kill the crew. They really need to know where that seal is. They really need Dargo to come back to himself and tell them. And so they play along, and Dargo's story comes out.
Once upon a time, there was a warrior who married a beautiful maiden. Her family hated her marriage, and so they fled and lived in secret. They then had a son. The maiden's brother, Macton, found them and killed the maiden. The warriors sent their son away, fearing what Macton would do. The warrior, framed for the murder, was imprisoned and chained to a wall by his brother-in-law's people.
I thought you were arrested by a peacekeeper.
Unable to even say the words, Dargo pulls a memory device from within his own chest and shows Zahn, Rigel, and John a picture of his family, his Sebastian wife, and half Sebastian son. All our hearts are broken, but Dargo is himself again. There is still a crisis happening, and now he remembers where the seal was. John is preparing to find the seal, but things are worsening, and they are forced to make a decision. Aaron may have to sever Moya's higher functions in order to survive. They all have to agree, and Aaron begins. John finds the seal, and near it, a large chamber. One might even call it womb-like. In fact, that's exactly what to call it. And, oh look, it's occupied. Moya isn't sick, Moya's knocked up. Oh shit, Aaron, stop cutting and turn the DRDs back on.
The baby needs the DRDs.
John pleads with Moya. Is there a way she can nurture her baby without killing them? And it seems there is.
I bet that thing's gonna grow.
Later, Pilot is restored and everyone is both excited and nervous about what's to come. And finally, in a quiet moment, Aaron asks Dargo if she can see the image of his family.
She's quite beautiful.
He knows what she has been taught to think about mixed relationships. And yes, that is what she was taught. But it isn't what she sees in the image now.
Because in his eyes, I see you. Dargo, no matter what happens to us, I will never tell anyone about your son.
I loved this one a hell of a lot. I wasn't expecting it. And that twist at the end, like, wow, like it was going one way, I thought, and then it completely like flipped me on my head, and I was like, okay, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, this was a great one. I liked it a lot.
Same. It was a really good, I guess, move through some character stuff, and yeah, I didn't see the twist coming at all. And there were a couple of points where I thought I had the twist figured out, but then it went a different direction. And so I always appreciate the show doing that for me. And then just, you know, our characters.
My boy Dargo.
They're doing things.
They're doing things and they're breaking our hearts.
A little bit.
I would also like to formally apologize and rescind all of the shade I've thrown at Dargo. He's my boy and I love him and I want to protect him. And Dargo, I am sorry.
Oh, honey, you just had to get to know him.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all natural.
He was hiding his light.
Yeah. I love the fact that my only issue was that I found him a little one-dimensional until now. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yep. I am a big fan of this episode. I love all the Dargo stuff. I love the bits of Aaron that we get. And I love the pregnancy story with Moya here, which
Moya's
really,
gonna have a baby.
Moya's gonna have a baby. It's really sort of the inciting incident for a larger story. We don't,
Sure.
We just sort of get the setup now. But it's gonna be interesting going forward, and I'm not telling you about it.
Swear to God, Sara.
So yeah, the main character development here is Dargo. So let's talk about our boy.
Let's talk about Dargo.
I love the exploration of Dargo's character here. Obviously, yeah, we learned that he had a wife and a son. And the way it's done, like, it's not exactly unique or something that we haven't seen done before in other media, but I still think it's a really fun and interesting way to tell us more about who he is. And every scene, too, has this, like, Shakespearean quality to it, or Greek tragedy. Like, it's so theatrical, and I love it. I just ate it up. I especially like the scene where we get the reveal that Macton killed Lowland. Anthony Simcoe's performance is just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Oh man, he just did so much with this episode, and it was so on a mechanical side, it was a really clever, in my opinion, it was a really clever way of telling the story, because basically what we got was a flashback without a flashback. And especially in at the climax of the episode where John gets everybody together to do a Greek tragic act out of his memories to help him move through them. You know, everybody's affectations in that scene took me there. But you know, in a way where we didn't actually have to like shift settings or have special effects or anything like that. So it was really clever. I'm having a hard time thinking of another time where I've seen a flashbackless flashback, you know?
Yeah. I mean, typically the adage is show, don't tell. But I think in this instance, telling and not showing works really well because we get to see all of the emotion of it all through Anthony Simcoe's performance and those around him reacting to the stuff he's saying.
Absolutely.
I would argue that this, in fact, is showing, not telling.
Okay.
It doesn't show us the events. It shows us Dargo's emotional experience of the events, which is what's important to the story, you know, important to us to know him. So I think this very much is showing. We get nothing of the other participants of this story's perspective, but that isn't important at right now. We don't actually need Lolan's internal experience or Macton's internal experience, not at the moment, not for this story. So I think this is a wonderful way of showing us Dargo's experience and how much the others learn of Dargo's experience.
I'm also really hoping at some point Dargo is reunited with his son Jothi. If they don't do that, that's such a missed opportunity. Because after this episode, that would be so. I also love the scene where Zahn brings Dargo to some sort of makeshift sick bay. He still thinks that she's someone called Lolan. He's a little spaced out. But I love how she kind of like plays along with it to almost like comfort him without necessarily gaslighting him, I guess. And then Dargo kind of snaps out of it for a moment and realizes Zahn isn't this person that he thinks she is. And we realize it's his wife, of course. And then he stands up and he looks at her like Zahn asks him who Lolan is, then he stands up and he looks back at her with tears in his eyes and sadness, and oh my god, that scene is just incredible. My god. Again, Anthony Simcoe, I salute you, sir. Amazing performance.
I did love Zahn and Dargo's interactions in this episode. I was also like really endeared by Rigel this episode. Like Rigel, you know, he was still like, you know, he's carrying me around on his shoulders while they were calling him and saying what's going on, but he let him, you know, like Rigel wasn't a dick about it. He let him think that he was Jothi for a little bit, and that was really sweet and unexpectedly so, you know, and because we've seen for sure before elements of Rigel's character that, you know, he's not quite the jerk that he comes across as, or he is jerkish, but for very sympathetic and understandable reasons. But just this like unselfish empathy that he displayed in this episode, it was really nice. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
As much as he can.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he did that, but he was still Rigel throughout the whole thing, though. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And I think Zahn is still Zahn because she isn't gaslighting, but there is a manipulative aspect to the way that she is sort of letting him believe what he wants, and sort of there is a bit of darkness, a bit of manipulation there. She's using it for his good, but it is still, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He I mean, truly, the right thing to do would be like, no, who is that? I'm not that person. I'm Zahn. You know. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't know if that is the right person, or if the manipulation is in fact doing the right thing, or doing the slightly dodgy thing for the greater good.
Yeah, for the greater good.
Or that phrase has been kind of ruined by a few. But you know, for whether she's manipulating him for his own good. there is a darkness to the fact that she is manipulating him. She is being very careful about the words she uses.
And as we know, she definitely has a dark side. Oh my god.
She's complicated.
I say, who on this show isn't, man?
True.
Yes.
The funny thing about Zahn, too, I noticed this episode, is she seems like more of a scientist than Crichton, really, because, I mean, and not just this episode, too. She seems to, I don't know, like, I swear I've seen her looking through a microscope way more than I've seen Crichton do the same thing. Yeah.
Well, she's a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right,
that involves a type of science, which I think is different from the science that John has talked about.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, he's a physicist. He's an engineer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But I think they just work really well together in this episode and just in general, really.
yeah. There is, it's really interesting how John is certain that it's a virus. From what he sees, even though he isn't the medical person, but he knows that.
Yeah, he knows enough to
Yeah, he knows that's not what debris looks like. There must be something, and so he goes on this virus tangent, which is of course fun to watch right now.
Yeah, I mean, watching this episode, like at first before the reveal at the end, I'm like, "Oh, this hits way too close to home right now. This is too real."
Well, I figured that the virus thing was a red herring. I just couldn't figure out what the twist was until right before John got into the womb room, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I expected a twist, but not the twist that we got.
Right? No, exactly.
Yeah.
'Cause there was a moment earlier in the episode when Dargo was being just really unhelpful while he was traipsing.
That's one way to put it. Really unhelpful.
While he was
Grumpy
traipsing
as
through-
fuck.
Yeah, while he was traipsing through the corridors and everything, and he was like, whatever. And he cut a conduit of some kind, and Pilot, that was it cuts to Pilot going like, and I thought that was the thing. But that never actually got picked up or explained again.
I didn't think of that. Yeah. I was also expecting something. I thought it was going to have something to do with the Peacekeepers. I thought we were going to find another beacon or something that was making Moya sick, like due to something they did. I don't know. But there was none of that, really.
I think the moment that it hurts Rigel was sort of a bit of reminding us that Rigel's tentacles run throughout the ship, as John points out later.
You mean Pilot, right?
Yes, I mean Pilot.
Yeah. That's okay. Sorry, I just didn't want you to get confused or
Yes, one of them has tentacles. But yeah, that he's connected. So when things start to go wrong, we are aware that there is a connection, the symbiotic connection, which is what is going wrong.
Right, yeah.
Talking of the Dargo is grumpy as fuck scene in the opening, I think that what we learn here reflects on every interaction he's had with anything connected to the Peacekeepers. And I think a lot of his grumpiness is this is what they're doing, is they're dealing with Peacekeeper stuff. And so there is he doesn't particularly like doing things he's not good at as well. I think he's got to go to that. I totally understand.
That's a very macho thing, isn't it?
Well, it's also like, I think maybe he's got a bit of ADHD kind of stuff, like, damn it, I'm not good at this. I'm impatient with myself. So I'm going to punch through. Not that I have. Anyway. Not that I didn't text you guys saying I want to throw my computer out of the window last week when it was giving me trouble.
I don't remember that at all. What are you all talking about? That didn't happen. No.
But I'm not Dargo, so I didn't actually do it. But yeah, I think that is part of what's happening there. Is the along with the impatience is Peacekeeper make Dargo see red.
Well, it's understandable since after everything that went down with his brother-in-law Bacon, you know.
His brother-in-law Bacon. I love that.
Every time, and so I keep the subtitles on whenever I watch the episode, and so every time it came on, Macton just looked like Bacon at a glance.
I dig it.
Brother Bacon. Yes.
Brother Bacon.
Henceforth known as Bacon.
Fair enough. But yeah, it throws a light on all of the previous interactions with Peacekeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It throws a light on a lot of things. It throws a light on him not feeling Luxon enough in whatever the name, back and back to the future.
I think there was another back in there.
It throws a light on every time he's called Aaron Peacekeeper, and it even recontextualizes a little bit of like why he was so desperate to get home in the last episode, if he's still got a son out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
I think it also has been affecting his relationship with John. He's had an antagonistic relationship with John from the beginning, and John was the target of his hyper rage. And at the time, we wondered, like, why is John the target of his hyper rage? But John looks like a peacekeeper. John looks enough like Bacon.
Yeah, he does.
That he mistook him for him. So I think that recontextualizes that.
It gives. It recolors, I think is a good phrase for it. Recolors a lot of what we've seen from Dargo previously.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know if this was the plan from the beginning or if where along the line they developed it. But it also doesn't matter because it's there, so we read it.
It fits and it works, yeah.
The pregnancy was planned from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Originally, it was going to be the last scene of the premiere, was discovering that not only are they escaped on a living ship, but the living ship is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But they recognized that they were throwing away a huge plot point for nothing. And so they saved it, which I think definitely the best decision. Give us time to know this ship, give us time to settle in, and then have this discovery.
I mean, it could have worked the other way, but I think it works better this way, probably. Yeah,
big time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they did it the other way, it just would have served to make people want to keep watching this series. But I think there was enough in the premiere to do that anyway. So
it really makes the Peacekeeper's treatment of Moya so much more that they like installed a mechanical contraceptive and basically what is her fallopian tube that Dargo was crawling through, and like,
yeah,
oh man, like that poor Moya,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's when you put it in those terms, it's really gross. It's yeah.
We don't know how this would happen in the wild. We don't know if
true, yeah.
If maybe Pilot would have gotten some instructions, if the crew would have gotten off. We don't know, and so it's in this less than ideal circumstance. And yeah, she's just trying her best.
Well, and it makes evil sense why they did it, because I mean, based on how Moya reacted in this episode, like, I don't feel like anything that the Peacekeepers could have done would have kept a Leviathan under control if the Leviathan got impregnated itself. So I mean, it's ugh.
Yeah. See, it's funny, Ben, because initially I really thought she was going, like, she was sick. You know, I thought they were going for a theme of sickness, but specifically like sicknesses where the body turns on itself, such as like cancer and all autoimmune diseases, something like that, because it seemed as though she was attacking herself somehow. I don't know, that's sort of one I was picking up, but obviously not, because I thought, yeah, like the DRDs were turning on the crew, and in doing that I thought they're also turning on Moya in some way, but I guess they were doing the complete opposite. They were trying to protect her.
They were, and it actually made the DRDs kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Attempted homicide aside.
Well, they did try to stick him to the, sticky stuff first.
Yeah.
Sure. Very
True,
normal.
yeah. They didn't go straight for straight homicide at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was only when they kept pushing towards the, the womb that they...
And then John was picking up what he thought were like viral cells or something, right? Something along those lines. So I just thought, yeah, that something about Moya was making herself sick, I guess. But no, I guess he was seeing like pregnancy hormones or something. I don't know.
Well, pregnancy often does start with sickness.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean,
Moya was morning sick.
Yeah.
Hey! Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, all right, there we go.
Yeah.
Contextualized.
I do think it's really interesting that we have a woman writing, giving a woman's perspective on pregnancy, or a person with a uterus's perspective. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
Mhm.
Because often we see some odd representations of pregnancy when written by men. Sometimes, it's like a bit too twee or a bit too scary. But this is kind of, it's complicated.
As pregnancy is, yeah.
Yeah, and we will have more times to talk about that sort of stuff. It's early days now. But yeah, Moya is morning sick.
She's just doing her best.
On the subject of illness, we do get some interesting discussions about illness and physicality between John and Aaron, and John and Zahn. We learn that Zahn's body does not have bacteria.
Yeah, that's interesting. So she's like immune to all kinds of things. Then we learn that Aaron has been like vaccinated against pretty much all kinds of
Everything.
yeah, everything. Yeah, it's really interesting.
She's been in an extremely controlled environment, as she puts it, which is an interesting phrase.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, to put it lightly.
Because I think that it's been extremely controlled in a few different ways.
Yeah, in like a fascistic kind of way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think especially, watching this now, I was thinking about John's discussion about, how our planet has so much disease. It does, our planet. But as Aaron says, even without that, there are ways for people to hurt each other, make each other miserable. And we have chocolate.
Silver linings?
I think so. It's not all one thing or the other.
No.
And it's very
What a
John to sort of just
wonderful
irreverently go, well, you don't have chocolate.
He's got some good one-liners.
He does. He's also got some good empathy this episode. I make up that he was the one who got everybody together and was like, all right, we need to get Dargo back to the present, unamnesiaed, undissociated. So everybody play your part.
Yeah, I really like that too. He's I've complained early on that he was just sort of like a meathead kind of action hero kind of dude, but he subverts that a lot, because rather than just blowing shit up all the time, he goes for the peaceful mutual agreement sort of way of settling conflict and whatnot, and I really dig that. It's subversive, and he's just a better person because of it, I think.
It gives Dargo a chance to kind of work through some shit too, and you know, maybe stuff that he didn't really, because if we go by the timeline, then you know Macton arrested him, threw him onto Moya, and I mean, I guess I would imagine it's difficult to process that kind of trauma while you're in prison. So this might have been the first time he had a chance to cathart, as is our new word.
Cathart, it just sounds... Never mind, I'm leaving that alone.
Some things are better out than in.
Just like catharts.
And of course, there's the scene with John talking to Moya.
So that's a thing. That, like...
Yeah.
Can we talk to Moya now? Could we always talk to Moya? Was Moya always listening?
Yeah, because like at first I was like, wait, is she actually listening? Can she hear him? And then it seemed like she does. Like she does understand. So maybe she was aware all along. Well, then hang on.
Or was she aware through the DRDs? We don't know because they...
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She is more than a horse.
She is much more than a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you can't have a lovely relationship with a horse. I, like every other 13-year-old girl, I had a horse phase.
You love what you enslave.
Oh, horses.
I love that moment with Erin, though, that she can only conceptualize a relationship with another species as enslavement.
As enslavement, yeah. Yeah. That back and forth was played for laughs, but at the same time it left me going, oh, that's a little like...
Like, was she wrong? Was she wrong?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think she was.
Do we enslave animals? Yeah.
I think... I don't know. We have a duty of care with animals. We should, anyway.
We do.
That I think... I don't know. It's complicated.
Mm-hmm. It is.
As most things are, yeah.
Just like Earth is, because it has diseases and chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's got to be a balance.
And different kinds of chocolate too, which makes it even more complicated.
I like dark chocolate.
See, I like white chocolate. I don't know. It's an unusual flavor.
This is why we work together, Jack.
White chocolate is good, but I'm a big fan of milk chocolate.
And there it is.
There we go. The triumvirate is complete. But as a type 2 diabetic, I don't do chocolate anymore, so...
Yeah, I'm pre-diabetic. I can't have chocolate very often. Occasionally, and usually if I do, it is the black chocolate, or the super dark.
Which is
not
heart
very
healthy,
sweet.
Which is another reason why I like it.
Yeah, but I really love the super indulgence of like really rich milk chocolate, which
Now I'm just sad. Thanks, guys.
love the things we can't have. Well, at least we're not totally cut off from Earth like John is, and
true.
Yeah,
that was a really good segue, Sarah.
Yeah, get us back on track. I was about to make another joke, but never mind.
I mean, I think the diabetic chocolate is bad, but it's better than whatever. John's got nothing.
Well, I mean, I've had my fair share of chocolate. I mean, that's how I became a type 2 diabetic. So, you know.
I've never had ration cubes, though. And especially never had them in a smiley face.
Yeah.
But I want ration cubes in a smiley face. God damn it.
So, I mean, I think that brings us to... we're circling around the Erin and John of it all. I think we're getting into a phase that I'm going to call moonlighting in space.
Okay.
Say more.
Elaborate.
Have you guys ever watched Moonlighting?
Had Bruce Willis in it, right?
Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd.
I know of it, and I saw like 1 or 2 episodes many moons ago, pardon the pun, but I wasn't into it, so basically
yeah,
no.
it's I think they're detectives or investigators, something like that. I haven't watched it in a long time either, but I do remember. It's famous for the will they won't they chemistry.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of that. Oh boy, we're getting a lot of that.
So yeah, this is very. This is a phase of moonlighting in space.
At this point, it's been a while since I watched the episode, but they had one of those weird, awkward staring at each other moments, didn't they?
Mhm.
Or am I thinking of something else? There was
When
like
she
a weird,
when she had her
like-
hand stuck to the floor.
Oh yeah, that's right. And they were really close to each other. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, kiss her.
Sha-la-la-la-la.
Now kiss.
La la la.
He's sticking.
Randomly, the DRDs glue them together, so we have excuse for them to be in close physical proximity.
And that is what I like to call convenient writing.
Mhm.
Moonlighting in space.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, there it is.
They make it work. I mean, Claudia Black and Ben Browder, they make it work so well.
Yeah, we like to watch it.
both great actors, both playing really cool personalities, and both very, very pretty. So, you know.
It continues the trend that we talked about a few episodes ago of the importance of blocking and framing. I was noticing it this time around. This is something like the third time that Aaron has been in danger and John has participated in her rescue, if not rescued her outright. And having her hand glued to the floor isn't danger exactly, but it was still a situation from which she needed to be rescued. And so I'm a little...
I'm going to say she needed assistance rather than rescue. She's not a damsel.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is I'm a little worried about. I'm a little leery about it because it's a recurring trend at this point, and I agree she's not a damsel, and I hope the show remembers that.
I mean, she's pretty much the biggest badass in the show, really.
100%.
I mean, yeah, like I don't think like trying to make her a damsel would just be odd to me. I think
I agree.
it just wouldn't fit her personality, none at all.
She is literally stronger than him.
It just stuck out for me. It just stuck out for me this time around. As much as I enjoyed the kind of slapstick, romantic comedy aspect that they keep finding themselves in, it just stuck out for me a little bit this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think if you're going to put Erin in a situation where she needs assistance, they're in putting, we got to look out for if they're going to balance it out by putting John in situations when he needs assistance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also love the idea that they seem to be hinting at that she might still have some pilot DNA working within her. I think that's really exciting. I really hope they do something with that because that could be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very convenient that she was able to control the ship.
Mm. Yeah, it is. Like, yeah, and it was like instinctual because they were just like random buttons. But she knew what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also like how Claudia Black played that scene where she was just kind of like, I don't know why, I'm just gonna go with it, whatever.
Yeah, she was so nonchalant about it.
Yeah,
and we got more of her and Pilot's relationship because if anyone was a damsel in this episode, it was Pilot.
Yeah, true.
And she was rescuing him.
Yeah, he was incapacitated the whole time.
Yeah, poor dear.
They have they're so far their interaction is very sweet together. Because she was the first one to kind of like reach out to him, wasn't she?
Yeah, actually she was. And I love that. I love that she's becoming empathetic and she seems to, she's really starting to just give a shit about everybody. And I really like that.
Well, it goes back to kind of a point that I made in jest previously about like how it took all of like one kind interaction with her, with Galena, and just to be like, oh, this is much better than the shitty way that I've been treated my whole life. I'm gonna go with this, and in a kind of it takes one to know one, pot calling the kettle kind of a way, like who better to recognize the importance of that kind of empathy and compassion than somebody who has not had it her entire life.
Right.
It's a precious commodity to her. And I love it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
So that brings us to, I think, the Aaron and Dargo of it all.
Josh, you look like you have something to say, so why don't you take the floor, buddy?
That final scene between the two of them, her reaching past what I make up as a lot of like cultural programming, and pledging to him her fealty of like, I'll never tell.
Yeah.
You know, you got a son, he's half Luxon, half Sebastian. I'll never tell. That was a huge step for Aaron, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen her show compassion before this a little bit, but this is almost like her first proper showing of like loyalty, you know, and that's really wonderful.
Yeah, I have a lot on this scene. I love this scene, and just the implications it has. So one of the things that I study, because I study gender studies and media studies, and my particular favorite thing is monster theory. And so aliens have alien races have a sort of similar DNA to monsters in fiction.
Yeah.
You know, they are how we envision the other. That can be a way that we play out our cultural insecurities. And so there's a whole thing in monster theory about monsters being the embodiment of difference and the sort of let me find. I have Jeffrey Cohen up here.
I appreciate that you bring your sources to these podcasts.
Yeah.
Like that's some scholarly shit right there.
Yeah, getting our nerd on, it's great.
I appreciate that you guys appreciate that I do this. Okay, the monster dwells at the gate of difference. It polices the boundaries of the possible. And one of the things that restrictive and hegemonic societies, including the one we live in, is really fearful of of things being destabilized. So monsters are often the fear of things mingling.
That sounds like Frankenstein's monster in a nutshell, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to Frankenstein because that's one of the most interesting cases. So the 50s movies particularly, and another writer, Jack
Wasn't Jack Kramme, no?
My brain just sort of Jack Halberstam.
Okay.
Jack Halberstam partly published under his dead name, but you find him under Jack Halberstam or J. Halberstam. He wrote his book Skin Shows talks about how monsters are sort of connected to the fear of physical difference too. Like it's a very visceral thing, and that they have a connection to a fear referred to as miscegenation. The fear of particularly of white society fearing the loss of purity by blending with others. So there's a serious fear of racial differences. And with aliens, like, we know that Dargo is inspired by Klingons, right? And Klingons,
that's very obvious.
Yeah. And Klingon particularly, they were originally, although they're partially inspired by the Soviet Union, they wore blackface.
Yeah, they're all very like tanned, darker complexion.
In the original series, and they had the Fu Manchu mustache and all that kind of fun stuff.
It was like a blending of others. They wore blackface with Asiatic features faked. You know, it was sort of a mix of blackface and yellowface. And the Klingons had a bit of this heritage of representing otherness and specifically aspects of blackness, aspects of particularly of white people's fear of blackness. And when it comes to sort of hybridization, which is what we think of it when we're talking about species, It's different than when we're talking about it with people.
Right.
But in fiction, when we're the mixing of species is sort of a fictional representation of the mixing of races, which is why I know Josh and I have a lot of affection, particularly for B'Elanna Torres as one example, because they play out some interesting stuff. But in this case, what we're looking at is very distinctly Dargo is the male in the relationship, and he's the other to the people who look like us.
Yeah, the allegory is definitely there.
And in this case, us is most particularly the audience that the writers expect to be writing for. So there is a heritage here, no matter how much of it was intentional or not, of looking at sort of the fear of white women having babies with black men. Which is a very specific fear in Western culture. And not just black men, also, other races too. There's elements. Halberstam talks a lot about the fear of the Jewish other, and the fear of that mix. And Middle Eastern, we sort of have there's a lot of overlap in Middle Eastern fear between the fears they had of the Asian people and the fears they had of Jewish people is a whole thing. And for those who don't know, I'm half Egyptian. My father is the not white person in that relationship, and although my family, neither side of my family had particular difficulty. My mom's white family were extremely welcoming. I have had some fun interactions over the years, and so has my mother, because the society we live in does have certain reactions to the idea of a white woman having non-white children and the sort of loss of purity in that. And there are conscious bias stuff that comes out. There are hateful, horrible people, and then there are the people who ask questions like Zahn, I particularly notice, has the question of, so if he was a peacekeeper, then she was and leaves the sentence unfinished, which is often what happens to me. People go, oh, that explains the they never finish the sentence. Okay. So your mother was So it's really interesting to me that we've got that at play, and particularly when if that's sort of an interesting enough heritage in our culture now, when we look at the culture that Aaron comes from, the representation of fascism, and one of the defining characteristics of fascism is fear of difference. Like, I will refer to Umberto Eco's or fascism essay for that. It's, I think, the fourth category of 7. Is this fear of difference. And she specifically says she's been taught to see these relationships as evil. And to avoid purity. So when we think about what happened to Dargo, whether it's intentioned or not, and despite the fact that Anthony Simcoe is white, there is some heritage there. There is some grains there of something similar to a lynching in the way that
Macton Bacon. Sounds like a boutique bacon. Sorry.
Yes, it's a typical Farscape. We're going dark. Let's go silly. But there is some implications, whether intentional or not, that that aspect of the story is kind of there. Though that we're talking about someone who, for having a relationship and a child for which is with essentially a white woman, was arrested for a crime he didn't commit and spent many years of his life chained by his collarbone to the wall. And we also have, like, by someone who killed his sister to punish her for sleeping with someone of another race. So, yeah, like, there are some... How much was intended and how much is just, like, the history of story sort of filtering through.
The unconscious bias filtering in through a writer just going like, and that makes sense because as they're breaking a story, and maybe, like you said, maybe they're trying to look at it through a lens or trying to show the audience something through a lens, and maybe they're not aware of their own biases and their own cultural indoctrination.
And I said that I would come back to Frankenstein. The interesting thing about Frankenstein, because monsters change with every generation and the way that they're used. Frankenstein, the film, is the monster through the outsider, is the outsider through the insider's lens, right? It's a story that's actually about a hero, and we are supposed to see it basically through the eyes of the guys with the pitchforks. The book is not that.
Nope.
No.
The book is largely, the monster speaks in the book.
The monster's like cultured and intelligent.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the outsider's view on society, which is one of, like, that's the way monsters play out, is the two ways. There is the society looking at the other and being frightened, or the monster looking at society and showing us who is the real monster.
Right. I think I haven't seen it in many, many years, but there was a Frankenstein film in the 90s with Robert De Niro that I'm pretty sure played that way. It was much more sympathetic towards the monster and showed the horrors that were afflicted upon him.
Yeah, the Kenneth Branagh did that when he was trying to do the book.
Yeah, he was trying to stick to Shelley's original vision.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I haven't seen it in many, many years, but I loved it when I was a kid. I've watched a lot of shit when I was a kid that I shouldn't have been watching, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah.
And look where it led you. So I love that interpretation of that insight. I think for me, it's easier to put the framework of the Jewish other over a Lux and Sebastian relationship, especially in the context of the very distinctive way that the peacekeepers have been presented to us. Even their color scheme is Nazi-ish. I also think there's an interesting aspect from the Luxon perspective, if we extend the metaphor of the Luxon as the other. I think it was in the first time where where Dargo is hallucinating that Rigel is Joffy, and he tries to be comforting, and he says something like, "I know nobody looks like you here," and that tells me that wherever Rigel or wherever Dargo, Lolan, and Joffy were hiding, it wasn't among the Luxons either.
No,
they fled both families, both cultures, whatever, and there's an element of cultural gatekeeping that can occur in minority communities, especially in racial minority communities, that, as I understand it, extends from a fear of cultural assimilation and cultural appropriation. It's sort of a reaction against colonialism and a reaction against white supremacy, where there's a need to protect and preserve a dwindling cultural heritage. And so from the Sebastian perspective, it apparently did lead to fratricide and wrongful incarceration. And from a Luxon perspective, it may not have gotten that extreme. It may have just been like dirty looks at Thanksgiving dinner or something like that. But it reframes his desire to be Luxon enough that we talked about in Back and Back to the Future. And I make up that this is part of the reason why he thinks he isn't, because he was told or shown that he wasn't, and they left. They left his Luxon family, his Luxon homeworld. Being pushed out of two different cultures like that has got to be hella traumatic, especially to then be betrayed by blood, you know, the way that Lowland was by Macton. So that's it really, like you were saying, Jack, it really remakes Dargo as this ultra tragic figure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the thing I think we both know, certainly I can speak for myself, as a mixed person, there is sort of a sense of being othered by both sides.
Yep.
I think of it as being, I describe myself as a liminal person, especially because I am bi and bisexual and biracial.
I
don't make any choices.
My mom is Mexican American. My dad is quite white. And I've had similar kinds of experiences. Sara and I have talked about this offline before. Yeah. I've had similar kinds of experiences in my life of not being Mexican enough, or not being American enough, or not being white enough, or whatever. I don't speak Spanish fluently, and also if I spend too much time out in the sun, I'm quite distinctly brown. You know, and so there's Edward James Olmos in Selena from 1995 said it best. We have to be more Mexican than the Mexicans and more American than the Americans. That line has always stuck with me.
Yeah, and I'm very fair as well. It's a complexion that happens in the Middle East sometimes. We call it, gold or wheat, and then when the lights are always confused as to how to color correct. But yeah, so it makes for a particular kind of liminal experience. People who are themselves mixed, we are born into it, and people who enter into mixed relationships sort of and choose the, so yeah, it's you and I could talk about that forever, and Jack is falling asleep.
No, it's fine. Look, I am a white person in a predominantly white country, but I fully support and reiterate everything you guys have said. My mom's side of the family is Jewish by race, but it's never been an issue. I mean, sure, in World War II, I'm sure it was a rough time, but I mean, in my lifetime, it's never been something that's affected me. Like there was, I mean, one incident where I mentioned to a drunk man who happened to be Muslim that I was Jewish, and he got really upset about that. But that I just left. I didn't care, and I was like, all right, whatever, dude. So yeah, I intentionally gave you guys the floor there to speak about your experience, because I mean, I don't have the same perspective, and I'm not going to pretend like I do, because that would be so disrespectful. And yeah, but I love you guys very much, and I support you.
Thanks, Jack. Love you too.
We get this turn here from Erin, and yeah, she's offering compassion, and also I think it's telling that she says she doesn't see, when he asks, is my son therefore evil to you? She says, no, because I see him in you.
Yeah, because in his eyes, I see you, as the line, and gorgeous line.
She is learning to see differently.
Yes.
She's learning to see. That's just.
Yeah. No matter what happens to us, I will never tell anyone about your son. I wrote it down. It's such a beautiful line. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that scene, except it's just, I love it. It's beautiful.
So good.
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Farscape does have a gift for these final coda scenes.
Yeah, I mean...
Right?
It is... It's getting to the point now where, like, I kind of expect it's like, okay, it's the end of the episode. Let's get ready for a touching conversation. It's becoming a little, not formulaic, and I'm not necessarily disliking it, but I hope, I don't know what I'm saying here. It's fine. No, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's
whatever. Not going to be in every episode, but Farscape does have a thing for codas, and sometimes they are just perfect.
Right.
Every show's got their signature.
Yep. So we've talked about Dargo a lot. Is anybody got anything more to say on Dargo?
I have something to say kind of along those lines. Kind of a complaint, but not necessarily, okay? So up to this point, the show hasn't really done like proper character-centric episodes, and I kind of wish it would. So like pretty much like this episode was the closest that we've gotten to that. But like with other episodes, it has multiple plots going on, like a main plot and then a B plot. And even when it tries to explore a character, it still cuts away to a lot of the other things going on in the episode. Even when it tries to do something, that's like very like focused on one character, it cuts away, and it seems as though like the writers feel the need to squish something else in, and in doing that, it sort of like crowds the episode and ends up like, it sort of casts a shadow on the more interesting aspects of the episode going on. And I mean, that's not inherently a bad thing, but I wish the writers didn't feel the need to be so broad with the plot and have so many things going on. Like, I'd love for them to just take an episode where they slow things down and make them more just intimate,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's some of the, not that everything is Star Trek, but everything is Star Trek. Some of the best episodes of particularly of Star Trek: The Next Generation were what they were, despite that kind of like outside mandate of like, well, it's got to have something sci-fi, because there was a need to make sure that something didn't turn into like a soap opera in space. Then they did Deep Space Nine, but it's easy for me to imagine them in the writers' room being like, and then we're going to really dig into Dargo's past, and we're going to really get into his character. And like, some executive is like, but what's going on with space?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it feels.
Like, all right, fine. Moya's pregnant.
And look, I love the twist that Moya is pregnant, but before all that, every time they cut away from Dargo, I'm like, wait, no, let's go back. Like, I found myself not really caring about what was going on with Moya because I was so much more interested in Dargo. Now, given that Moya is pregnant, I have that context now, so it makes me more interested and more like empathetic to what's going on. But that still doesn't change the fact that for most of the episode, I'm like, no, wait, let's go back to Dargo. What I want more.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is sort of the 90s way of writing television.
Sure.
There is more reflection, I think, than is immediately apparent. For one thing, apparent being the operative thing. We have a parent and a parent.
and Dargo is the one who, for want of a better phrase, gets Moya pregnant.
Oh yeah, I didn't think
certainly
of that.
Midwife
He's the baby daddy.
He's at least he kicked through the seal, but no, him sending Jothi away is juxtaposed nicely against Moya being like, well, fuck all of y'all, I'm pregnant now, so I'm gonna take care of this baby.
Maybe you
get oxygen.
Maybe.
Like parents being willing to do anything for their children is a theme I picked up on.
There will be more things to talk about as Moya's pregnancy continues. But it is, I remember somebody early on, someone was saying, I wonder what they'll do with this living ship thing.
Farscape has not left any wish of mine unfulfilled so far. and I don't think I've called the next episode in the previous episode in a little while, but almost everything that I've been like, I really want more of this, Farscape has been like, here you go, man.
Anything that you want more of?
No, I'm happy right now. I'm content.
Personally,
that would be kind of fun to see if you come up with something.
Personally, I just want to say I'm still sus on Pilot. I still don't kind of trust him. I mean, I feel for him a little bit, but there's still something going on, man.
Yeah, because it's interesting that pilots aren't privy to information about what to expect when you're expecting.
Exactly. Oh my god, is Pilot the dad?
No, Dargo's
Is that
the
what's
dad.
going on?
We already established Dargo's the dad.
Oh yeah, that's right. Or maybe because you know how
Who's
like
your daddy?
cats can be impregnated by multiple males. Is it maybe it's a you know what? I'm gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop.
Yo, what?
It's interesting.
Well, I read that. That's true, right? Cats
I
can
don't
have
know.
multiple baby daddies. I don't
Damn
know.
it, man! I'm a nerd, not a veterinarian.
I'm not a veterinarian.
I read a fabulous essay recently in a book I have of essays about Farscape called Farscape Forever, where a biologist theorized about the evolution of leviathans based on what we get in the series. That if folks want to check that out, Farscape Forever has some interesting ones, a biologist theorizing about how space-born whales with passenger capacity would actually evolve in space. It's quite interesting.
I can't wait to read that at the end of the series.
So, is there anything left on the table as far as themes that we want to cover?
With all the stuff going on with Dargo this episode, the show tells us his mind is retreating back to his early days with his family as a result of being out in the vacuum of space for too long. But really, I mean, thematically, he's disassociating, which is one of the more serious symptoms of trauma. Now, I just want to make it clear, I'm not an expert on this subject, so I apologize if I'm not framing it right. But disassociating can look differently person to person, but it's often categorized in like lapses in long and short term memory. So memory loss. People can wake up one morning for a time they won't be able to remember the last couple of days or weeks or even years at times. I mean, I know someone who woke up one day thinking it was 2003 when it was like 2017. You know, and that's also pretty common from what I understand. It's like as a result of the trauma, the brain tries to sort of block out the awful memories and will sometimes retreat back to like safer times in one's life. And I just thought that was a really like the way they explored such a serious thing was done really poignantly, I think, and really beautifully, and in a way that I think was quite respectful as well. Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason we called this Muppet Sex and Trauma.
Yeah. So we've got the Muppets and the trauma. Not much sex at this point, but I'm ready.
Dargo
Bring
and
on
Moya.
the sex.
Dargo and Moya.
Oh yeah,
we,
true.
we,
yeah.
we had a big spurty thing of tiny particles.
There was penetration. There was.
I mean,
we
had
Pregnancy tends to come from some version of sex.
Yes.
We've had lots of hinting at sex, and by the way, I'm still not convinced that everybody doesn't want to bang everybody else. Like I'm even though it looks like something's going on with John and Crichton, I'm expecting Dargo and John to get it on next episode. I don't know. Like it's just
John and
everyone
Aaron.
wants to bang everyone, and I'm okay. Yeah. John and Aaron.
Yeah.
John. And, I don't know. Just John and everyone. Just
Oh, that yeah.
just
Time and
Bang in.
patience.
okay. I will be
Time.
patient.
And patience.
I don't
Although,
mind waiting for sex.
I will tell you, we do get a couple hints that John is indeed enjoying Crichton very much.
Oh, okay. Was that a masturbation joke?
Yes, it was.
It
That's absolutely what it was.
Sorry, no, Captain Obvious over here.
So
People out there who watched will know what joke I'm referring to.
Bum,
Well-
chicka, bum, bum.
where do we go
Sorry.
from here?
Where do we go from here? Tell me. Sorry.
Take it away, Jack.
There we go. There's my singing.
There's our Buffy reference too. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time to move to favorite parts.
I mean, this is so obvious, I know, but my favorite scene is the one between Dargo, Zahn, and Crichton and Rigel, where we get the reveal that Dargo's wife was murdered by her brother, a peacekeeper, and then he sent his son away for his own safety, and then he pulls the chip out of his chest, and then and that was over his heart too, right? That had to have been
It's on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Well, close enough, I guess.
It was on the other side from the human heart. Who knows what the Luxon heart is?
Well, that's the thing. It could be in his butt. Who knows? But there's just so much going on in that scene. It's complex and it's so well acted. Everybody brought their A game, especially Anthony Simcoe. I know I've already said that, but my God, what an actor! Oh my God. I just can't praise his performance enough, and that scene, loved it so much.
I am torn. I'm all out of. I'm not going to do the whole song. No, I'm torn. I between that scene and then the scene where John gets into the womb room and basically it pleads with Moya, like, let us help you. Let us help you raise your child. And that was like so sweet. And I was like on my couch just like, that's so sweet. I love this.
For me, it's Dargo and Aaron at the end. And Aaron saying, I don't see him as evil. I see you in him.
Yeah.
That
it's
is
really
just...
It was really difficult to pick
or
one.
you don't have chocolate because
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it was so hard to pick a favorite scene this episode. Like, they normally come really easily for me, but this was difficult, man. I actually had to sit and think about it for a good while.
Sometimes it can take a little while to come.
Yeah, especially if you've got a shield in the way.
Right? Sex.
Muppet sex and trauma.
Sex. That's
a Leviathan diaphragm.
Leviathan? That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do from now on in this podcast. We're just gonna go sex.
Muppets.
You know what? It's like when we finally get in a sex scene, if we do, it's gonna be like full circle. Like it'll be complete.
It will. Complete.
You make me complete.
There shall be sex scenes.
Oh.
Even Muppet ones.
Oh, well.
Like, I'm morbid curiosity here.
That's why I'm throwing it out there with no context.
Well, sure.
So it is Muppet sex, not Muppets sex. It's Muppet sex. And
it's
trauma.
both.
All the above. We gotta go, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. This has devolved very quickly. I'm sorry. Except okay. I'm not sorry.
Sorry.
So, if people want to hear more of us for any reason, I don't know why.
I don't know why either. But you're more than welcome.
Where can they find you, Jack, my love?
You can find me on Twitter at lackofsurprise1. That's all one word with the number 1 at the end. You can find me over on our Discord server. You should come on over and hang out and chat, and we'll have a dandy old time. You can catch me on another podcast I do with my friend Ian Martin from Passion of the Nerd. That's called Podcast of the Nerds. And you can check out my work with Chipperish Media on the Still Pretty and Endless podcast. I just edit them. I'm not in them, but I edit them. And you're more than welcome to come and check that out if you want to. Josh, what about
job.
you, sir?
You really do.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks.
I'm just hanging out over on Instagram most of the time, talking about food and self-care. So if either of those things interest you, come visit me.
Josh also occasionally tag each other in our culinary delights. So yeah,
Whose turn is it? Have I tagged you or have you
It's
tagged me?
yours. I'm waiting on you, man. It's okay. Take your time. I ain't
You two
going
might
anywhere.
have to start a culinary podcast of your own.
Oh, that could be fun.
I'm not editing it.
That's fair.
You can find me on the YouTube channel Costume Codex. I am hopefully recording a video soon. I've been working on the script for a while. Trying to find time to record and all the stuff, but yeah, and if you want to hear me talk about whatever, often fat liberation stuff or story stuff or whatever, you can find me on Twitter at BlueStockinsSara. BlueStockinsara. And yes, you can join our group Discord. It's getting fun in there. We've got a few people now, including all three of us, and our dear friend Ren, who guested on our last episode. And we also have an email, muppetsexandtrauma@gmail.com, and a Twitter, MuppetSexandT1. And if you want more of us this weekend, because I plan to be, this episode should be out on the Friday, on Monday, you can join us and our friend Ian from Passion of the Nerd watching Duet from the second to last episode of the first season of DS9. We are going to introduce Jack to DS9. We've been talking about him with it for ages, and we're also going to make Ian watch it because everybody and their dog has been bugging him to watch it. So we're just gonna sit all down together and watch one of the best episodes.
It's gonna be a fun time.
It really
You
is.
should come and check it out.
So I will insert a link to that in the show notes of this episode.
Down in the doobly-doo.
And next episode, right?
What are we watching?
Let me pull up our thingy. Next episode is Till the Blood Runs Clear.
Oh,
Shit.
Follow. You guys have any predictions on that one?
Well, we got
menstruation. Sorry. No.
Dargo, but okay.
Sorry. I took that. Yeah.
Ooh, period.
Okay.
Yeah. Oof, period. Yeah. You guys need a mute button for me. I'm sorry.
I don't think we do.
I put my foot in it every time.
We love you just as you are.
I love you too.
It'll be about Dargo.
Dog are menstruating.
I swear to God, Jack.
Stop it! Just stop it! Sorry. You know what? I'm shutting up. I'm
No,
done.
you're never shut up.
And the episode following Till the Blood Runs Clear will be The Flax.
The flax.
Yes.
And at this point, we're going in just order, right? No more jumping around? Is that...
No more jumping around. We should be in line with the order that they are in the Amazon and DVDs.
Cool, because that makes it much easier.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I'm glad we did it, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, as I said, you can join us on Monday to watch some Star Trek. Oh, God. Josh, you're so excited.
Am I doing it right?
You're doing
Live
it great,
long
buddy.
and prosper?
You're
Thanks.
living and you're long and you're prospering.
Cool.
And you can join us here in 2 weeks to talk about Till the Blood Runs Clear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thanks, folks.
Thanks, friends.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
y'all.
There are so many things I can't talk about because you don't know about them yet.
You have such a wonderful poker face.
You
What are you
really
still
do.
talking about?
Honestly, yeah, like, impossible to tell.
if I just grin and say nothing, then you have no idea what it's referring to.
Sure.
Every time I bring up a theory and don't want it spoiled, I make sure I don't look at your face because I don't want any.
Me too.
You try, my love. You try.
We appreciate you for it.
Yeah, we do.
Many things will be revealed. Many things will not.
Because television.
That they will. Yes.
And summary? Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah. I forget how the theme music goes. I can hear it in my head, but I can't speak it.